Ever thought it would be really hard to figure out all of your emails and usernames because you use a pattern or potentially don't, and it would be too hard to figure out, or that you'd catch the actors while they were doing it, or that they'd give you some telemetry? Stay tuned to hear about how that may be completely wrong today on our show.
Dom Kirby, Matt Lee. The game.
What's up, everyone? Happy Wednesday and welcome to the game. We're going to be doing some reconnoitering today, which I'm pretty excited about. We're gonna dive through understanding what's going on with your environment without necessarily touching your environment in a way that you can see. So we'll check that out. We'll do a little bit of math to talk to you about how to combat this. But before we do that, if you want to interact with us, and we do want you to interact with us, the best place to do that is paxa.com/YouTube Cloud. Our producers can see the comments in the chat there, and we can actually throw them up on the screen for you. Like, share, subscribe, all of that fun social media like stuff. Don't forget to sign up for PAX 8 Beyond. And don't forget to sign up for our upcoming security boot camp in April in Chicago. Actual real live kinetic tabletoping, right? Immersive learning. It's a different experience. You should definitely check it out. And let's jump right in.
So it means we're getting nerdy today, Dom, right? So I think we have my screen share going. Yeah. So what are we talking about here? We are talking about using TREVORspray, and as I alluded to when we came in, Dom, it's about one of the first steps we do if you're going to ever attack somebody. And what is that? You kind of said it, right? It's
reconnaissance. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to figure out what my attack targets are. And sometimes they're easy, like they're published in, well, easy to get at email addresses, you know where they're at. But what if somebody thinks they're safe because they're using a separate UPN from their email address? One might say that's safe, right? Because a different user principal name means that you can't necessarily get information about my sign-in username, right? That's the intent of using that. I'm going to dispel that myth today. I believed in it. I used it for a long time, having a delineable SMTP from my UPN. So we'll talk about how I can enumerate those potential login domains with this tool. The other thing we're going to talk about is how to enumerate potentially what users exist in your environment and what do not in a way that you can't really see. And you might say, Matt, that's not true. I'd see every sign-in log. Right. I'm not trying to sign in. We're doing something different. We'll explain that here in just a minute. All right, so what are we working with? Well, we need a victim. Nothing. Just Microsoft. And really just anything. It doesn't even have to be Microsoft. Right. It could be literally anything, right, Dom? Because we can write custom sprays. And I did do that. For an engagement that I was doing for the Hackening, where we found an MSP that had left up a version of their old portal for their clients, but their usernames were signed in with SSO, and that SSO was tied to an LDAP-S endpoint, and that helped me avoid Microsoft Smart Lockout. Yeah, yeah. Right. So it was just better to spray against that than to spray against Microsoft. It was the point. What else do we need for attacker, Dom, to run TREVORspray?
Not much. This is a simple tool. Callie's going to come with everything you need. You're going to pull it down off GitHub, and we're going to get going.
Yeah, and it's pretty much any Linux box, right? To your point, Dom. It doesn't have to be Kali. I just happen to have a Kali box. I'm giving a shout out to DigitalOcean. Thank you for giving me a wonderful place to host my tools. I trade that for dollars, so they don't give me too much, I suppose. But anyways, so we got a VM running, and we're going to get to that here in just a second. What is TREVORspray? Let's do the RTFM to get started, right? And that is the read the blanking manual. TREVORspray 2.0, which indicates there's obviously something before it, or they're just smart Alex. I actually didn't read that far back in the history. But TREVORspray is a modular password sprayer, meaning that there's different modules one can execute upon, and also that they've built it upon other modules. With SSH proxying that allows me to proxy out through other spaces, other hosts that I connect to over SSH, and then send my traffic from those hosts. Loot modules, meaning things to gather the things that I care about, those goodies, and more. It's made by the Tech Romancer. I think this is actually another part of Black Lantern. I think is the company that is part of or is employing this human. Real quick installs, right? Pip install. That's it. That's it. It's very, very simple in that regard. All right, cool. Anything to add here, Dom?
That SSH proxying is valuable because a lot of times we compromise an SSH host, and there's not much value in that, except for using it as a botnet endpoint to run my traffic through so you look like the bad guy, not me.
Or even perhaps your trusted network is behind that SSH, and I can use that to avoid conditional access policies, right? Like all kinds of stuff there. And yeah, good call out, Dom. Good call out. All right, so credits where credits due is also helps you understand what they meant by modular. So the way this functions is TREVORspray just made it easier to use MSOL spray, and obviously the Python port of that is just an extensibility to make it easier for them to get it in this format. Splunk Wizard for the stuff for those pieces. O365 MFA bypasses from Cart and Solace. Dr. Azure AD, AAD internals, one of the best recon tools for Azure AD still. OneDrive user enumeration. That's the big play in TREVORspray that I love the most, is because that's what makes it easy for me to hide the fact that I'm even doing anything. Dom, do you understand how this OneDrive user enumeration might work? Taking a guess at it?
Well, if you use OneDrive, you should navigate to it on the web and check out what the URL looks like. Right? It's just a web server, so it will respond with HTTP codes.
Or it won't if that site doesn't exist, will it, Dom? And that's the point. If you go to the website and it gives you a 404 and it says it doesn't exist here, then you know there's not a user. Microsoft exposes that. It may make me authenticate, but I'm not asking that. I'm just asking, does it exist? And if it comes back with page does not exist, right? Microsoft could do a lot to avoid this by just simply saying, yes, it exists, and then requesting authentication far before they actually do that. Instead, I get to do a very easy HTTP method to determine that. But we'll get into that in just a minute. We're going to show it off. And then the last piece is the seamless SSO enumeration. We're not going to be doing that. That would be trying to piggyback on the SSO handoff sign-in to the front end of Microsoft Office 365 as I remember researching it. All right. I was trying to find the lore for this because I believe that this is a Dave Kennedy and involved with some of this of a cockroach, some story of a cockroach that died in a restaurant and the Trevor will never forget Trevor, trash hag never, yeah. And then obviously I think that's Dave Kennedy dressed in a cockroach outfit. So continuing the lore. I asked Copilot if it knew the lore and I don't think it came back yet. All right, I just moved on. All right, what else? So multiple modules, MSOL. Right, Microsoft Online, you can spray at that. We can spray at ADFS. We can spray at OA. We can spray at Okta, right? You can spray at AnyConnect for Cisco, which is super handy, right? So it comes with modules that are already ready to do password spraying, which is the other part of this, which we're not really going to do today. But what is password spraying, Dom? Help people understand.
That's essentially using typically a compromised password list. I think we saw, how big was that TXT? So I think it was 248 million. It just dropped. I'm going to take that list and I'm going to throw it at services at a very high speed. I'm going to spray it at them, right? So it's super effective. It's actually still one of the top ways that Entra accounts are broken into because we still haven't turned on MFA.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah. And so that's why the MFA bypass, though. If I get a legitimate credential, auditors are here. I knew it. All right. So it's basically the other aspects of this. We'll just fly through it pretty quickly. Is this enables password spraying. It also tells you if the accounts exist, if it's locked, if it has MFA enabled. Right. It also go through and say, I'm going to use different various IP addresses through its round robin proxy, which is one of the things we did. We used an IPv6 external proxy, which gave us through Linode, I think it was like 40 million addresses or something to use so that we would try to avoid Microsoft's smart lockout capabilities by having each different subsequent password attempt come from a different IPv6 address in that space. Microsoft's pretty good at detecting those patterns, though, even still. But yeah, we'll kind of beat this to death here. Enumeration -- recon and -- users gives us OneDrive or Azure Seamless SSO. We're going to be looking at the OneDrive enumeration capability today. And we're also going to be looking at the list O365 info information of tenant ID, tenant names, other tenant domains. I said this earlier that we might run into the ability to discover those domains that you don't necessarily advertise. I had a separate SSO domain that I like to use for a long time and thought that would protect me from that. And it really doesn't as we get into it. Okay. And then the other piece I want to talk about, and this is the actionable piece, we'll put this in first, is one of the ways we're going to be doing OSINT and finding usernames and email addresses is by building large lists, scanning for OneDrive directories, and then hoping we find one. Well, the only way to really get that would be as exhaustive as possible, right? And so what we could do is we could write code to take first initial last name, or first initial dot last name, or first initial last name, or first name last name, or first name dot last name. Each of those different iterations have wild differences in what they cost me to enumerate. And I'll give you an example. if I was to take the 162,253 top names in a data source that I use for this type of spraying, which I'll kind of show you as we get into PuTTY here in a minute, and then take the 26 initials of the alphabet, whether that be the first initial of the last name, or whether that be first initial of first name in front of last name, that's only 4.2 million combinations that I would need to accomplish. Dom, how we read that number down there with all them commas on that other one?
It starts with a B, right? So if we
It's a B. Okay.
if we use first and last name concatenated with a dot, usually we get to 15.6 billion possible options we have to try. And remember,
And it's gonna take
this is throttled by the
Yeah.
fact that we do have to send an HTTP request, right? So
That's right,
it's not
each
like
time.
I can speed this through a dump of data.
Yeah. I can thread to the extent that my internet can handle it and my network adapter and things that are around that path can handle, but that's about it. And to your point, I still have to make a connection out to that SSH host to send it its next connection command and request, even as I try to scale that through bots, right, in that case. And so what I'm getting at is if I was to run a raw script of 4 million of those, it might take me a day to run through those, but 15 billion is going to take me, a lot more. I can't even do the math in my head. It's
Who knows?
If 4 million starts at that other comma, that means there's 15,000 of that instance there. So it's going to take a lot of time, 15,000 days potentially to enumerate. All I'm getting at is if you're an organization that has control of your email address, first name dot last name is significantly harder to enumerate all the usernames in your environment than the other methodologies. So, all right, let's bring up PuTTY. We're going to come back to our friend in the terminal, PuTTY. All right, so we have a virtual machine that I'm running out of the cloud in DigitalOcean, and we have installed our TREVORspray among a few other things. One of those being that source list that I just referenced with all of the first names, last names. All right, so one of the first things I want to show off as a capability is the ability to enumerate subdomains. I didn't ask permission, so if I get in trouble, I suppose I'm in trouble, but anybody could do this. I'm going to do this on Pax8. And so the TREVORspray command is going to start enumerating what domains might be at Pax8. Like, can I determine which domains exist that are Pax8 in that same tenant? Dom, why would we care about that? I mean, I've given one example, but what else could there be?
There's a lot to that, right? Your point was using a separate domain for authentication, which has validity to it. But again, with this reconnoitering, we can figure that out.
Womp womp.
But
Yeah.
the other thing I can do is discover perhaps more about your company than you want me to know. Like, let's say you were doing a stealthy acquisition and you've already added that domain to your tenant. That right there is like a leak of confidential information. And this is like no authentication has happened. This is public, but it can also figure out, exclaimer makes you add a domain to your tenant, so you can enumerate that, whatever this one central is in our list, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, that was the one I wanted to hit on too, was just that corporate information aspect, right? The other thing you might touch on is like, now I can look at these domains and start enumerating them for other information. In fact, that's what I did with the hackening, was we would take these domains and go, here's 22 more domains that we can go look for infrastructure upon, that we can go look for bad certs or failed certs or broken things or vulnerabilities or, to your point,
I'm going to dump all those
extension.
domains onto a dark web search, right? Start searching IABs.
Oh, good call. Ooh, we need to get together, Dom. You got the same tradecraft in my heart. Okay, so I think, and also in this was cutting off the bottom of the screen, so I'll try to hit enter up a little bit and let y'all see. But as you noticed, what it did was it enumerated and said, hey, we have this surveys.pax8, Wirehive, Pax8 AWS, right? Bamboom Cloud, all companies that we've obviously acquired or put under our belt. And so that would be something that this tool does really well first, right? Is the kind of visibility of giving of showing off. I'm not certain that this is actually moving on your screen. Let me see if that's a me problem.
It's moving around, yeah.
Oh, it's because I stretched it out so much. I see. That's on me. Give me just a sec, y'all. See, that's why we do it live, is I'll mess it up for sure. Okay, cool. So let's make your viewer pleasure a little bit better as we go for the rest of this. All right, so that's the enumeration part of that we talked about. I think that's why that's so important, is just that it can give me contextual information. But now let's go ahead and build. Yep.
You see those successes there. It's also enumerating what your tenant name is. You pick a name of whatever on Microsoft. And I've also seen clever defensive attempts to like pick a different name for, whatever.sharepoint.com. This same tool
long hair don't
enumerates
care
that.
on that one.
It's available.
Yeah,
right? No
Yeah,
different.
long hair don't care on this one. It's just going to get it exactly to your point. Yeah, good call out, Dom. That actual raw tenant name is very enumerable with this tool. Okay, what else do we have? Let's build. Let me clear the screen here. And let's go ahead and build our username. So we have here echo-n ordered letters, which we've already made the ordered letters variable, but it's all 26 letters of the alphabet. While read -n1f, right? So we're making this variable. The first 2,000, right? From this last names.txt. And then while you're doing that, also then put it back together as a variable and make at 7plus1labs.com. 7plus1labs is the one that we're going to be attacking. So let's do a little enumeration on 7plus1labs real quick. While we're doing this. So this is a tenant that we're attacking, presumably, right? And so we're wanting to do some discovery on that. Let's see what we can find. Dom's dealing with a physical pen test right now, so hopefully he'll be back here in just a second. All right. So let's go back. It shouldn't take but just a few seconds here. 7plus1 Labs, Microsoft Online. Let's see what else can we see that's in this screen right now. Checking user realm for that. Because you ever notice that when you go on to Microsoft and you go to sign in and you get a branded URL, a branded domain, this is also testing for pieces of that as well to see like what kind of things do we have here. Comes back with, let's see, 7plus1labs.on Microsoft, 7plus1labs.com, and m.7plus1labs.com. So we're just going to be spraying against the one real domain that we see there, this 7plus1labs.com. Is what we're going to spray against. So let's see. Did I leave? Yep, I have to copy my command back again. Just a sec. Hold on. All right. So now we're going to make our first name, last name based on this 7plus1labs.com. So here we see echo-n, ordered letters. We went through all this. We're going to make flast.txt. And so if this is done right, we should find in root source lists flast.txt. See, it went through that. I only did 2,000, but there's actually, like I said, 162,253 at 26, which would end up generating an inordinate amount for me to be able to show this to you. So we're gonna cheat a little bit on this one, and what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and add two names that I know exist to that file. Right? It would have already got them eventually, but I'm not pulling enough sampling that I know every time it will, and I wanted to do this live. So we should now be able to cat /root /source lists /flast .text. Yep, so we're good there. And we see at the bottom that M. Lee and Don Kirby exist in that data set, right? D. Kirby, M. Lee exist in that data set. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're actually just going to...
Matt. You want to scroll down.
What's that?
You can't see D. Kirby.
Oh, sad clown. Oh, yeah. Well, they could just trust me. They don't have to, like, completely, like,
yeah.
Geez, man.
We do not operate in a zero trust world. This is fair.
That's fair. That's fair. There they are. You should be able to see them now in that. So let me actually see if I can get this whole thing on screen enough for y'all. That's probably still good, but you lose some fidelity in reading it, so we'll trade those two. I'll give you 2 enters. All right, we can balance this. We'll figure it out for y'all next time. All right, so let's paste in. Oh, I already did those. We're good there. All right, let's run the TREVORspray command, and we'll take a look at it first before we run it. All right, so this TREVORspray command is going to run 200 threads. Root TREVORspray bin TREVORspray, just because I'm too lazy to make a reference to it. --recon 7plus1labs.com, so we're giving it that same recon flag. But now we're providing it a user flag, /u, and we're providing it a source text file. So /root /source list /flast, first last.txt. I like to do it that way so I know what I'm doing, because you could make it f.last, first.last, first.l, f.l, fl, right? To indicate that being a short version.
By the way,
it doesn't matter.
It is not hard for me to understand how you make your emails. So you use literally any of those shady sales tools and match at least 2 names, and I can assume that everyone else has the same format, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or I could even permute through them, right? Like especially start with some simple tests, get enough of a data set. All right, but we're going to run this. And again, like I said, you'll see the command kind of fly by as it starts to do things. But it's asking me, do I want to use Seamless SSO or OneDrive? I'm going to type in OneDrive. And then it's going to run through. So now what it's going to do is it's going to try to discover the Outlook auto-discover. So outlook.office365 /autodiscover/autodiscover.json to get the information for that 7plus1 labs to see if there's a different OA instance that it needs to hit. Like think hybridization is where that plays out a lot. You can see that come up where it gives you, right, Dom, where it's giving you a redirect through a local host or something in a hybrid play. All right, and so we're waiting on it to do that. Once we get done with that, we'll start seeing it checking and getting 404 errors as it tests each site. So again, like to do live demos, but let me see if there's any comments of anybody asking questions or anything in that nature real quick while it's doing that. Yeah.
There's some 404s flying around.
All right, there we go. We're getting some stuff there. Yeah, very cool. So yeah, every one of those are right now coming back with 404s. We're only going to do 52,000 accounts, but you could see how that gets up into the millions and how long that would take because we're at 1,852 thousandths right now. So we'll get through these pretty quickly, less than a few minutes. But what's nice about this, that was something where we might have found a locked out account potentially. I don't know if you saw that red fly by, but that might have been a locked out. Greens are usually what we're looking for here. That's the loot. That's the good bits. And after this is done, it'll let us know that it's written an X number into our loot file. Back to that loot module aspect, you can then take that loot and say, for all of these usernames, now try all of these passwords, which is what we were doing, right? So if I get 50, 60 good usernames and then spray it with 45,000 top passwords, I have a chance of having one of those matched to one of those users. Back to what you were talking about, though, Dom, there's a lot of credential stuffing playing out, right? Where now we're not just spraying passwords, I'm spraying known good passwords. Right. And so now I'm getting into a point where I'm credential stuffing known good passwords into the system and hoping to get good. So we're at what, 6,000 of 52,000 accounts. Right. And as you notice, there's nothing stopping us. Microsoft hasn't triggered us and said, oh, my gosh, we're not letting this traffic happen anymore. You're done.
Yeah, there's no rate limit. It's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah. It didn't slow down any because I'm just checking, does this page exist? Right. I'm just literally curling and saying for each curl, check the next username. Right, and I would have to imagine we're going to get to the mlee at the end. It's going to run them in the order they are in the file. That's why we did that ordered front letters. So just bringing back to that, we did ordered letters and did them in. You ever notice like on Wheel of Fortune, they always pick RSTLNE first? Why do they do that, Dom?
I don't know. Why do they do that?
They have the highest likelihood of being in the name. In this case, there's an ordered. In this case, it's ordered by the highest likelihood of the A being the first name, or B being the first name, or C being the first name. And so it's actually in an order that is out of alphabetical order for the purpose of making us more efficient in our scan, especially if you were multi-threading or sending this results off to something else as it landed. But just know that in this case, we did an ordered operand set so that they would take that in order and do the most likely ones first. I'm stupid, and I tailed it at the end of the file instead of put it at the top of the file. So that means I have to wait for it to completely finish to show you the valid results we find. So it's cool. Y'all can all wait here with me and smile like I'm not the idiot at 12,000, 52 thousandths. So
it does look like the Matrix, though, John. This is, I think I just
was that
saw
what
the
somebody
red dress
said?
go by. That's what somebody said. Yeah. And
Oh,
no,
that's
your
funny.
password is not safe. Just literally hundreds of millions of them got dumped today, and they're free.
Yeah.
They're not even charging for these data sets at this point.
They've already been used to that extent, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Let me go look and see if I'm missing any comments on my live stream on mine. No, it's good. If you're there and you have any questions, ask. We're going to have to wait for this to finish anyway to awkwardly show you the results at the end. There's another one that flew by.
This is real hacking. This is not, it's not like what you see in the movies. We got to wait for the reconnaissance to happen.
Yeah, you can't type on one half of the keyboard and me type on the other half of the keyboard and have that magically work, Tom. That's not how this functions or some form.
Not how it works. Yeah.
I probably should have done less than the 2,000 times 26. Right, that'd be the
perhaps.
That'd be the math that we're looking at here, boys and girls. I should have just grabbed the first since I was already padding the envelope. And I'm probably not over the halfway mark, so let's just do that. let's just do that. Actually, I already got users, so we're good. Let's go look. So cat /root /.TREVORspray. This is where it stores its loot is .TREVORspray, so a hidden directory, and then existent users. So we found. Can y'all see that? Let me bring it up there a little bit. Okay, so I found S. Barry, J. Humphrey, M. Lee, D. Kirby, and C. Baker. Dom, you're more aware of this tenant. I know 2 of those names on there that are valid. Do you know any of the others who those are?
Yeah, those are all actual humans. Yeah.
Yeah, so the intention here, and I didn't want to drag this out for a billion years, but is to show you, maybe I did, maybe that helps you understand why if you did first name dot last name, that it would be much harder to enumerate all your users. Why do I care about enumerating the users, Dom?
Well, now I have targets, right? I understand what's going on in your tenant. I understand I can start to pick targets from here. To your point, I can do credential stuffing or password spraying. I can start to prepare phishing campaigns. I can also take some of these emails, and if I'm doing a really targeted attack, I can start to research who's what, start to do some spearfish. So I can do so much with this information. I could also just take these emails and do the classic like sign you up for all the stupid mailing list prank. Like there, there's so much I can do just by knowing this. Um,
Right.
and here's the point: is a lot of us assume that I can't just pull a list of users. The truth of the matter is, I can probably pull even a large tenant a pretty accurate list of users given the right amount of compute and patience.
Yeah,
Right?
we got 400 500ths, I think it was 500 somethings for one MSP through this methodology. I mean, it took days and days of doing it. I want to try one more thing.
Well, nothing we just did is going to hit anywhere in a log in your tenant because Microsoft doesn't even know that anything's happening here. This is literally an HTTP request. It hits the front end. This is being reported at the edge. There is no log that this happened. Nobody would know.
I'm trying to see if you can see the status of the locked out, not locked out that I'm going to try to show you here in a minute. Because what you can do once you've found those usernames is now take those usernames, which I did, and pipe them back in to be rerun with a password, right? And that's where the spraying aspect of this comes into play. Now I'm spraying just a static password of password at it. I don't anticipate it to be correct. But if I remember correctly, what this allows me to do is enumerate status of lockout. Right? If it is, that would be really bad. In fact, if it is, you need to fire it. We'll just make this deal, Dom. If password works, you should fire one of your employees that is on that list. Or me. If it's me, fire me. If it's password, I'm out. Like, just fire me. So right there. So see, here's what we're getting. We got this D. Kirby at 7+1 Labs confirmed valid via OneDrive, got 302 error. So that's what, or got the 302 response. That's what I was wanting to show you all earlier.
Not 302
is that we did get
hey,
that these exist.
It's sending. It's trying to
It's
send
that
you
what?
to Microsoft. That's a redirect code.
The
So
redirect.
it's trying to send you to log
Yeah.
into Microsoft.
Yep. Yeah, spraying one password against those. Invalid email or password. Account could exist. They're not locked out. If they were locked out, they just said it. Ask me how I know. I locked out like 40 accounts while we were spraying against them on one user or one company. But anyways, yeah, so I hope we've done a pretty good demonstration of this and what is possible with TREVORspray. We've really just scratched the surface, but just helping you understand. And what, the intention of this is to help you understand. So maybe it's time to kick off to play the game. Dom, do you have anything to close out on this tool before we wrap it up?
I just think the whole point of showing you that these reconnoitering tools exist is that they're security through obscurity is not just a bad idea anymore. You essentially can't do it. Right? I will unobscure your obscurity. I think it's my point. So let's go to Matt for the play today and see if he agrees.
It's very rare that I don't agree with Dom. We were probably separated at birth by about 20 years, but still. At the end of the day, what we're talking about here is tradecraft and understanding. What Dom and I are trying to do right now is help you dispel myths. And I think that's just it. If you walk around believing that you have no weaknesses in your defense because you believe some principal tenant, some principal thing that says, hey, I'm protected here because I use a different username or because I use a different, right? As opposed to actually having the data and the knowledge and chasing more of an epistemological aspect of things where I'm now trying to say, what is the truth? How should I really understand this? How should I understand my risk? How should I do that? And the best way to do it is through these tools that help you understand how to shape that. And the last takeaway is, using first name dot last name might be a pain and might make it longer, but it sure as heck makes it much harder for me to enumerate and limits it to only people with dedicated time and bandwidth. Go learn tools, y'all.
Game over.
All right. Learning how to red team will make you a more effective blue teamer. It just is what it is. Join us next week. Gavin Klondike's coming. We're going to be doing some fancy AI agent stuff. He's built this really cool environment that he's going to show off. So definitely come check that out. Same time, same place. We'll see you there.